Part 45. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 479. ID Con 1670087. The two of them were so delicious that they cried. Others in the restaurant are also full of praise. Delicious. It's truly delicious. This is the first time I have eaten such delicious food. These crew members in the offshore dock eat very ordinary food on weekdays. Now that I have tasted the food that Sanji took the lead in cooking, I feel like I am in heaven. The restaurant was quickly filled with the sound of clashing tableware and voices praising the food. Everyone in the restaurant did their best to praise the delicious seafood meal that Sanji took the lead in cooking. Of course, a large part of these are not cooked by Sanji himself, so the taste is relatively poor. However, under the leadership of Sanji, these chefs have already made the most delicious meals. Everyone enjoys a delicious seafood dinner together. Exploring the king orangutan and salvaging the king orangutan were even more praised. "It's so delicious that it's unimaginable," said the explorer king orangutan. "It's a pity that our boss didn't get it," said Salvage King Ape. Luffy looked at the two of them and asked, "You guys are really interesting. Who is your boss? I really want to meet you." "You want to see him? He's a weird person. Maybe he's still swimming in the sea now," said the king of Discovery Orangutan. "That's right, our boss is very difficult to see," Salvage King Ape said. Luffy looked even more excited and said, "Then I want to see him even more." The banquet continued, and everyone was talking and laughing. Sanji was praised by the crew of the Saruyama Union. After the banquet, the Explorer King said, "Okay, everyone. Now let's visit the sea dock together." "Okay Luffy," Usopp and Chopper shouted excitedly. A group of people began to visit the Ape Mountain United Sea Dock led by the Explorer King Orangutan. This sea dock is indeed huge. Below are important facilities such as various conference halls, gymnasiums, warehouses, arsenals, libraries, crew living quarters, and freshwater storage. But what excites everyone the most is the deck. It is also the top deck of the Ape Mountain Union Marine Dock. On the deck, everyone walked and listened to the introductions of King Orangutan Exploration and Orangutan Salvage King. "Everyone, this is the top deck of our Sarasama Union," said the Explorer King Orangutan. "Wow, it's so open," Luffy said excitedly. "It's really vast. It's a good place for fishing," Usopp said after looking around the wide deck. "Is it good to bask in the sun here?" Nami said. Salvage King Ape said, "Everyone, please keep going." Rog looked around, and the top deck of this huge offshore dock was rectangular. There is a tall super fort at each of the four corners. Roger is not interested in anything else, but he likes those super turrets very much. The Exploration King Orangutan and the Salvage King Orangutan led everyone from the middle area of the deck to the edge of the offshore dock deck, from where they could see the sea outside. There are dolphins jumping out of the sea from time to time. Some flying fish rushed out of the sea water, used their wide fins to glide and fly for a while before falling into the sea water again. The sun was not too bright at this time, and there were even some clouds in the sky. These bleak scenes, paired with the blue and surging sea below, can be said to be extremely beautiful scenery. Seeing this, Rog and others also took a deep breath. The sea breeze blows, making people feel cool and comfortable. After walking, we finally arrived at the super fort on the right front of the offshore dock. After entering the super fort, everyone can clearly see more comprehensively. This super fort is 3 stories high. In front of the super fort, there are 3 heavy artillery pieces that can be up to meters long. The triple-mounted heavy artillery looked up to the sky. With this super turret, it is enough to overlook the entire sea. When Usopp saw the fort, his mouth was so wide that he couldn't close it. "It's really huge," Usopp exclaimed. Chopper looked at the super fort and was extremely shocked. "It's really spectacular," Chopper said in shock. Sanji stood on the deck at his feet, took out another cigarette and lit it with a lighter. Looking at the huge fort and the vast sea, Sanji said, "What a powerful weapon." Rog looked at the super turret and said, "This turret is so powerful. And this offshore dock. How did you build it?" The explorer King Orangutan looked at Rog and said, "Are you curious about this? It's normal. Anyone who sees this huge offshore dock will be curious about how it was built." The Salvage King Orangutan suddenly stood in front of the Explorer King and said, "Let me introduce it to you." The Explorer King was a little dissatisfied, and said, "Hey, I'm in charge of explaining." The Salvage King Orangutan didn't take it seriously, and said, "You've been talking about it for a long time. It's my turn." The Salvage King Orangutan still introduced to everyone, "This huge offshore dock was actually not built by us. Of course, there are not many forces in the world who can build such a huge project. This needs to start from the establishment of the Yuanshan United Army 8 years ago. Time to speak." Salvage King Ape begins to introduce the story of this offshore dock. 8 years ago, the Ape Mountain United Army was formally established. But at the beginning, we only relied on the 2 ships we owned. The Hunter and the Yutan. The Probe. These 2 large pirate ships are the boss, the 2 of us, and many brothers. However, it is difficult to really fight against the powerful security forces of Magic Valley City with only these 2 large pirate ships. But a year later, that is, 7 years ago, we accidentally discovered an incident. Near the port of the city, this giant sea dock began to approach here due to damage. But the sea dock did not belong to us at that time. It belonged to a pirate. He and his pirate group were fighting and fighting because of the sea dock. The disaster in the Great Route was destroyed, so they need to go here for repairs. Therefore, the nearest island of Gaia is the best place for them to anchor. The sea dock was moored at the port of Magic Valley City. At that time, the mayor of Grandet also agreed to repair the sea dock and provide supplies. Because the pirate ship used a lot of gold and silver to pay for it. But later Grandet the mayor's men found an astonishing amount of gold and silver in the sea dock. It is said that the people of the sea dock found an island rich in gold and silver minerals and exploited all the mines there. This is amazing. The wealthy mayor Grandet and his men managed to steal the huge gold and silver wealth. The pirate captain naturally refused to agree. But Mayor Grandet and the others also have a way. Manipulated. Makes the weapon unusable. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 480. ID Con 1670088. Moreover, Mayor Grandet also contacted the Navy. The warships of the Navy headquarters and the security forces joined forces to attack this offshore dock. The pirate captain and the crew fought bravely. But the casualties were heavy, and even the pirate ship Zhanghe was also killed during the battle. In order to deal with the pirate captain, Grandet even asked his biggest partner Bellamy in Magic Valley City to help him. Under the attack of Bellamy with terrifying strength, the pirate the captain and the crew were severely injured and their limbs were broken. The brutal Bellamy then left. We were also observing in secret. Then we came to this offshore dock. We saw the dying pirate ship Zhang and his crew. They all had broken limbs and lost too much blood. We worked hard to treat them. After being rescued, the pirate captain and his crew thanked us. The captain and the crew were very moved. The captain directly stated that in order to allow us to act better, he transferred this offshore dock to us. At that time, the boss had to accept it. After all, the other party's intentions were very strong. But after a few days, we found that the captain and the crew had committed suicide. Later, we learned from the suicide note that because they thought their limbs were all if it is broken, there is no way to continue fighting. It can only drag us down. So the captain decided to transfer the sea dock to us, and committed suicide together with the crew. Speaking of this, the expression on Salvage King Orangutan's face was sighing for a while. The king of exploration orangutans burst into tears. Rog was also extremely shocked. He didn't expect that there would be so many stories in this offshore dock. It's shocking to hear. So touching. Usopp and Chopper cried as they hugged each other. Luffy looked at the huge dock at his feet and said, "This offshore dock actually has so many stories. That pirate captain is really a man. He's just a man like that, knowing that he can't live usefully, he just kills himself," the Explorer King Gorilla said while touching his tears. Salvage King Orangutan also said excitedly with red eyes, "But he gave us this offshore dock." The Ape Mountain United Army also inherited his legacy. So, we want to end Grandett's shameless rule. The King of Exploration and the Orangutan of the King of Salvage said in unison. This offshore dock actually has such great significance. Nami was also very shocked. She said, "What an idiot. Just like us, the mayor of Grandet found gold from the ship and did it like that. The reason why Mayor Grandet and his subordinates dared to do this. It is because pirates are not protected by the laws of the world government, although occasionally pirates can rest and supply supplies in Magic Valley City without breaking the law. But once it is discovered that you have a huge amount of wealth, you will be killed." Sauron said calmly, "It's really not easy to be a pirate. It's so easy to be targeted. As long as there are treasures, they will try to kill them." Salvage King Ape said, "You think too simple. Not only pirates, but even the ships of some rich merchants with insufficient background will be targeted by them, and then they will seize the treasure. There was once a man from another kingdom who suffered from different political opinions. The aristocrats who were persecuted and exiled were killed by them because of their wealth and background checks. And because other people are not wanted by the navy like pirates, killing ordinary people is a crime. So they can't even live. Do not stay." The Explorer King Chimpanzee also said, "It's more than that. Don't think that Grandet only targets the rich. He also helps the hard-working merchants in the underground world to kidnap some poor travelers and sell them as slaves. These slaves are likely to be as a plaything for the source of human organs and the nobles and rich people of various countries, or as a coolie who is exhausted to death." After hearing these narrations, everyone was shocked. Unexpectedly, the seemingly prosperous Magic Valley City is actually ruled by such a terrifying big devil. "That's too much," Usopp said with disbelief on his face. "How could there be such a villain?" Chopper said indignantly. Luffy said tremblingly, "I absolutely cannot forgive him. Rog, Zoro, and Sanji all have serious faces, no matter who they are, they hate this kind of villain in their hearts." The Explorer King Orangutan said again, "So since you are also attacked by Grandet and the security forces, how about fighting side by side with us to eliminate them?" "Okay." Everyone shouted. Everyone's heart was surging with excitement, and it was hard to calm down. After a while, it finally returned to normal. But Rog asked again, "I have another question. It seems that this offshore dock is very powerful, but why don't you use this offshore dock to take the initiative and annihilate the enemy?" The faces of the King of Orangutans who were exploring and the King of Orangutans who were salvaging were serious. This question is indeed on point. The Salvage King said, "In fact, it is not a bad idea for us to use this offshore dock to take the initiative. But there is a very important problem. That is, even if we can defeat the security army's warship force, we still have to face possible shells." "Rami." Bellamy Sanji said. Salvage King Ape said, "Yes, Bellamy is a super pirate. He is known as the Side Dog. His bounty is as high as 1,000,000 Baileys. And there is a legendary powerful King Shishibukai as his backing. He controlled the Bellamy pirates. I'm not exaggerating, even the Sea Dock can't stop his attack. He alone can destroy the Sea Dock and lose combat effectiveness." "With the support of His Majesty Shishibukai?" Robin asked with some confusion. "Yes, it's a powerful Kaiwilhe under the king," said the Salvage King Orangutan. "When it comes to Kaiwilhe under the king, everyone has a psychological shadow. In Alabasta, Crocodile controlled the desert land and unearthed Hades. Those horrific and tragic scenes still remain in the hearts of everyone. Another king descends to Shichibukai. I don't know how terrible it will be. Nami said timidly, the other party is very strong. That Bellamy. The bounty has reached that level. Luffy bowed his head and said nothing, he just clenched his fists. Everyone else is paying attention to this rubber man who has always been fearless. It doesn't matter if he's Bellamy or the king of the Shichibukai. Just beat him away, Luffy said loudly. Rog, Zoro, and Sanji all looked serious, and they were not afraid of each other at all. The Explorer King and the Salvage King Ape looked at each other, and said together, what kind of people are these? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 481. ID Con 16700867. Nami is proficient in meteorology and can predict all kinds of weather very accurately. She can even feel changes in the surrounding environment and predict the weather just through her body. Nami once felt the change of the surrounding weather while walking around on the deck, and it turned out that a large hailstone fell. Everyone, I have predicted the weather. There will not be too much sea breeze in this area tonight. But shortly after dawn tomorrow, there will be a relatively severe storm, Nami said to everyone. Everyone had different expressions after hearing this. It's no problem tonight, right? Zoro said. There will be wind after dawn tomorrow, so these fogs can be said to be dangerous, Usopp said. Luffy said nonchalantly, anyway, there is still one night. You can still enjoy it. Have a good dream after eating. Usopp punched Luffy on the head and said, it's really hopeless if you just know how to eat and sleep. Rog said, this way, at least it will be safe for one night. But I don't think they will give up. The current situation can be said that Leo has extreme hatred for everyone on the Discovery. He certainly won't let it go. Then let's go like this. Everyone has a night's rest first. There are advantages during the day. Although there will be storms, it will also cause certain obstacles to the enemy. At that time, we may be able to find a way to defeat the opponent. How about Sanji said. Everyone agreed. It's indeed good. Let's wait until dawn and think of a way to fight them, Luffy said. Everyone was a little tired, and Sanji then made some snacks and tea for everyone to have as a supper. Then everyone went to rest. The fog above the Discovery has always existed, making it impossible for Leo and the others in the sky to attack. In the night sky, Leo and King Seagulls are unable to attack due to the fog of the Discovery. The fog above the Discovery is enough to cover a fleet. Damn, I can't attack if I can't see clearly, Leo said. The fog above the Discovery is enough to cover a fleet. Can't find the specific location. Throwing heavy bombs like this is also a waste. Leo looked at the huge sea fog below, and the 4 King Seagull brothers behind him. Now it's time to make a battle decision. Okay, everyone. Let's rest on the nearby rocks first. I will send little seagulls to continuously scout here. Don't you feel that a storm is coming? But that will be after dawn, Leo said. Birds have a powerful sense of the weather. Both Leo and King Seagull realized that the storm would come after dawn. It doesn't make any sense to be anxious now. The 4 King Seagull brothers all agreed. Leo and the 4 King Seagull brothers fly to a nearby reef to rest. Leo turned his head to look at the mist. After dawn, you will die a miserable death, Leo said. After Leo and the King Seagulls flew away, a group of ordinary little seagulls flew here to investigate the situation. In the cabin of the Discovery in the fog. Everyone is resting. Of course, some people sleep soundly, and some people eat snacks. Some people read books. Some people are researching new weapons. Rog is researching new plant weapons. After all, there may be fierce battles after dawn tomorrow. There will be a violent storm tomorrow, and the battle may be beyond our imagination. In a cabin room, Robin is reading a book in the room. The discovery was left by Ver and the others to the Straw Hat Pirates. But there are also some marine knowledge and some historical books on it. Robin reads these before going to bed to increase his knowledge. For Robin, the Straw Hat Pirates faced their enemies again not long after she joined. Is this an adventure or a curse? Of course, it wasn't the danger Robin posed. Rather, the Straw Hat Pirates themselves are a group that challenges all kinds of dangers. To Robin, these young men seemed a little crazy. It's a good adventure. Robin closed the book. Then she went to bed peacefully and slept. The Discovery was afloat in the sea, and the surrounding fog provided cover at all times. But it's all the calm before the storm. The night is finally over. It's time for the next morning. The sky had just brightened, and Leo and the 4 King Seagull brothers flew from the reef to the sky above the Discovery, which was still shrouded in fog. Leo looked down into the mist. The fog is still so thick that people can't see clearly in the daytime. However, the weather was still gloomy during the day. The sea breeze also gradually increased from the previous breeze. Leo looked at the fog below and said, "Humph, soon you will have nowhere to hide." Leo and King Seagulls are carrying heavy bombs ready to deal a fatal blow to the Discovery. At this time, on the deck of the Discovery, Rog, Sanji, Zoro, Luffy, Usopp, Chopper, Nami, Robin, King of Ninja, and Goddess of Spring are all gathered on the deck. Even at this time, everyone ate the sandwiches made by Sanji and drank the coffee made by Sanji. "Sanji, your sandwich is very good," Robin praised. "Really, Sister Robin, I'm most happy that you like to eat," Sanji said lovingly. Usopp looked at the sky and surroundings while eating his sandwich. Although the surrounding area is still foggy at this time, the sky is somewhat brighter because of the daytime. The wind is indeed getting stronger, and it seems that there will really be a storm soon, Usopp said. Chopper drank his coffee, looked around and said, "The storm is coming, it's really scary." After all, Chopper was born in the kingdom of ice and snow, so he was shocked to face all the bad weather on the sea. The storm in Chopper's eyes can be said to be a super powerful natural disaster. Rog looked around the explorer and said, "The real storm hasn't come yet. And there are enemies more terrifying than the storm." Now on the deck, the surrounding sea breeze is gradually strengthening. It was obvious that the sea breeze would become very strong before long. Luffy looked around and said while eating sausage and sandwiches, "Wait, a storm is coming. So much fog will be blown away." Rog said, "This is also our opportunity. The storm is mixed with huge winds. In this way, we can use the sails to sail faster." Sanji said, "That's a good idea. Of course, risks are also accompanied by hand. If there is a storm, the fog will be blown away, and Discovery can use the wind to speed up." Sure enough, time passed by minute. After 8 o'clock, the sea breeze is getting stronger and stronger. The mist created by the misty tree also began to be blown away. "It's time, now we need to move as fast as possible," Nami said. "No problem." Everyone is in high spirits. After a night of preparation and rest, everyone wanted to work hard. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 482. ID Con 1670882. The sails on the Discovery's main mast were pulled to maximum. Meanwhile all are ready to fight. The sea breeze became stronger and stronger, and these fogs began to be blown away on a large scale. At the same time, the sky gradually began to rain. "What should come has finally come," Sauron said. Leo and the 4 King Seagull brothers were in the sky looking at the sea below. The fog was blown away, revealing the hull of the Discovery. After seeing it, Leo said happily, "It's really great. Finally, I can attack. Although the stormy weather is approaching, it is finally possible to attack without the fog." Leo was unwilling to wait any longer. After all, things might get worse as time passed. Okay, let's start bombing, Leo said. Leo and the four King Seagull brothers began to bomb the Discovery below. On the deck of the Discovery, everyone was able to see Leo and the four King Seagulls clearly. Everyone in Leo has seen it. But what really shocked everyone was King Seagull. The huge body of the King Seagull can reach more than meters with its wings spread. Flying in the sky is comparable to a giant. Oh my God, Usopp said. What is this? Chopper said. How could there be such a huge seagull? Sanji said in surprise. This is truly a monster, Rog said. Wow, I really want to ride on it and see it, Luffy said. Robin looked up at the sky and felt how huge these king seagulls were. I have no choice but to fight, Sauron said calmly. The goddess of spring water and the king of ninja are also ready to fight. Leo was the first to fly above the Discovery. Go to hell, you stinking human being. The two heavy bombs carried under Leo were thrown down. Two heavy bombs hit the Discovery below. The bomb is coming, full right rudder, Nami commanded. No problem, Miss Nami. Sanji quickly completed the full right rudder. The huge hull of the Discovery turned to starboard. As soon as the ship turned around, two heavy bombs hit the sea, and the sudden violent explosion splashed amazing water columns. Discovery successfully dodged two heavy bombs. Good job, Luffy cheered. Sanji, good job. Nami also praised Sanji. After hearing this, Sanji said with love on his face, Miss Nami, I'm waiting for you. There is another very important reason why Sanji takes the helm. That is when Nami gave an order, Sanji did it with all his strength. In this way, Sanji can perform exceptionally at critical moments. This makes Discovery more likely to survive. After Leo's attack failed, he looked at the Discovery. Now Discovery's speed has greatly increased due to the storm sea breeze. And it seems that the helmsman is also a master at steering. It seems that it is much more difficult to sink them than imagined. Next, we will see you, the four brothers. King Seagull Leo said. The four king gulls all screamed alarmingly, and then began to bomb the Discovery. The king seagulls began to lower their altitude. They aimed at the Discovery and dived. On the deck of the Discovery, Nami saw the king seagulls diving. Sanji, irregular sailing, Nami ordered. Okay, Miss Nami. Sanji is now a man with % combat effectiveness. Under Sanji's rapid steering changes, the Discovery was moving irregularly from side to side on the sea. The king seagulls have already started throwing heavy bombs. Each throws 4 heavy bombs. A total of 16 bombs hit the Discovery below. The heavy bomb hit the sea behind the Discovery, and quickly exploded in the sea, setting off a column of water that soared into the sky. There were also heavy bombs that hit the sea on the side of Discovery. The soaring water column was produced by the explosion. On the deck of the Discovery, there was rainwater due to the storm, but now the water waves generated by the water column sprinkled on everyone. It's so spectacular, Luffy said excitedly. Idiot, how can you be like this? Usopp and Chopper said. Rog saw this shocking scene. It would be nothing if it hit the sea. It would be a disaster if such a heavy bomb hit the deck. Roger felt unprecedented pressure. Now you need to find a way to avoid being hit by these heavy bombs. So Rog also spent an astonishing amount of energy last night researching and transforming new plant weapons. Rog put a wooden stake on his right arm, and the wooden stake wrapped around Rog's wrist. Okay, it's time for you to show your power, Rog said. This stake is not the stake air cannon that has been used before. Rather, it is a powerful weapon with astonishing power. The power of the plant fruit in Rog's body is continuously injected into the stake. The front end of the stake began to expand rapidly. From the front of the stake actually grew a hand, and then an arm. It's just that this arm is made of trees. The shape is just like an arm. All right, hand of the giant wood. The arm on this stake continued to grow longer and become larger. Eventually it grew into an arm huge enough to grab a cow. Usopp saw Rog's giant wooden hand and said in surprise, "Is this the arm of the giants?" "You'll know soon," Rog said. The giant seagulls in the sky kept dropping heavy bombs. Another heavy bomb was not dodged and was about to hit the deck. At this time, Rog's right arm controlled the giant wooden hand to quickly catch the heavy bomb. Then quickly throw it to the sea aside. Boom! The sea exploded violently. Amazing water splashes. Rog successfully avoided this heavy bomb with the giant wooden hand. After Rog used the giant wooden hand to successfully evade the attack, Usopp said, "It's really amazing." Chopper also said, "It's so cool." Luffy said, "It's fun." Sauron is always paying attention to the big king seagulls in the sky. "I always get some weird weapons," Sauron said. The Ninja King also admired Rog's ability in his heart. The king seagull continues to drop heavy bombs. This time, 5 heavy bombs were dropped in a row, 3 of which were avoided by Sanji using the rudder. But after all, the Discovery is a meteor warship with a huge hull, so there are still some heavy bombs that can hit this heavy warship. 2 other heavy bombs hit the Discovery deck. Roger quickly grabbed one of the heavy bombs with his giant wooden hand and threw it into the sea. But there is also a heavy bomb. At this time, Sauron swung his swords rapidly. Sword style. Rhino way. Zoro used his double sword this time when the heavy bomb was only 10 meters away. The resulting whirlwind deflected the heavy bomb. The heavy bomb also hit the sea beside the Discovery. Under the cover of Rog's wooden hand and Sauron, the Discovery successfully evaded 2 heavy bombs. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 483. ID Con 1671520. Rog and Sanji focused their gazes on Mont Blanc Kulik. The orangutan actually said that the uncle with the chestnut on his head was the descendant of the explorer in the story. Progeny, Usopp said in surprise. Sanji looked at Mont Blanc Kulik and said, "I remember No Lando's full name is Mont Blanc No Lando. Then you are really his descendant." Usopp went to Nami's side again, and took the picture book for observation. He suddenly found a chestnut on the head of No Lando on the cover. "It really looks like this." Usopp pointed out the chestnut on No Lando's head in the picture book to others. Others also sighed one after another. On the top of No Lando's head is the same as Mont Blanc Kulik, with a huge chestnut. Mont Blanc Kulik was silent for a while, and finally spoke. "Indeed, Mont Blanc No Lando was my ancestor more than 400 years ago. It was no accident that I came here. In fact, in real history, No Lando died in tears and hatred. He persisted until the last moment the gold sank into the sea due to changes in the Earth's crust. However, anyone who heard it thought he was quibbling. 400 years ago, the Mont Blanc family was expelled because of the No Lando incident. During these 400 years, there are countless people in the family trying to get rid of the stigma suffered by the family. Although I may not have any relationship with him in terms of blood, I also want to completely solve the mystery he left behind." Mont Blanc Kulik said in a deep tone. "I also entered the Great Line after I became an adult. Unknowingly, I also became the captain of a pirate group. About 10 years ago, I finally came to Gaia Island. This is also the Mont Blanc family after No Lando. It was the first time for a person to land on that island again. Of course, as the legend says, there is no evidence of the existence of gold on the island. So my crew members were unwilling to spend their energy on it, and they parted ways with me. It is to continue to stay on Gaia Island. Every day, I dive into the surrounding seabed and explore possible ruins. I am not here to prove No Lando's innocence. It is because I hate him and let me live in the eyes of being ridiculed since I was a child among them. My action in Gaia was to fight the man who messed up my life." Mont Blanc Kulik recounted his experience. Everyone present listened very carefully. After hearing this experience, Usopp, Luffy, Rog, Zoro, and others all showed expressions of emotion on their faces. It's really touching. Usopp wiped away the tears from his eyes with his arm. Uncle Litsutu, you really have your own dreams, Luffy said in agreement. Sanji looked at the ape and orangutan again. Are they also your crew members and came here with you? Sanji asked. Mont Blanc Kulik looked at the apes and orangutans, shook his head and said, no, after I arrived at Gaia Island 10 years ago, after a year, I still found nothing on the surrounding seabed. But it was 9 years ago. One day, the two of them broke into my life together. At that time, they must be my subordinates. Explore the ruins of the Golden Land with me. Having said this, both the apes and orangutans were in high spirits. Yes, our boss is full of charm. We must follow him, said the orangutan. The Golden Land is our common dream, said the orangutan. The orangutan and the orangutan are beside Mont Blanc Kulik, as if it was really his left and right hands. Usopp was very moved and said, what a group of men. But why are you two so persistent in following your boss and believing in the existence of the Golden Land? The orangutan and the orangutan glanced at each other, and pointed at the picture book that Usopp was holding together. Because we're big fans of picture books, the two said in unison. Usopp was stunned for a moment, and then said awkwardly, how can there be such a reason? Mont Blanc Kulik added, in this way, the three of us are the core, with the goal of exploring the legendary Golden Land. In this way, the Ape Mountain United Army was established. After the establishment of the Ape Mountain Allied Army, it was mainly used to conduct research on the seabed. Exploration. Looking for things that may be related to the Golden Land. But things are always changing. 8 years ago, an amazing change took place in the Magic Valley city of Gaia Island. The local noble family Grandet quickly seized. He formed an alliance with another powerful pirate, Bellamy. The island of Gaia became Grandet's sphere of influence. Grandet used all despicable means to seek profit and persecute innocent people. Because I also hated him, I clashed with his subordinates. As a result, I was forced to leave Gaia Island. After that, the mission of the Saruyama Allied forces changed again. The goal was to overthrow Grandet's rule and liberate Gaia Island. Now the general situation has been explained by Mont Blanc Kulik. Originally, he traveled thousands of miles from Bihai to Gaia Island to find the relics of the Golden Land. But inadvertently, there is a younger brother who is determined to fight, and he unexpectedly becomes a resistance force against the powerful. Roger looked at Mont Blanc Kulik. The chestnut-headed man had a tendency to refuse to admit defeat in his bones. Whether it was to search for the Golden Land here at the beginning, or to fight against Grandet's power later, it was the unyielding drive to admit defeat. Your goal is really great. Regarding the fight against Grandet's forces, we will fight side by side to the end, Rog said. Mont Blanc Kulik looked at Rog and said, you young people have such courage. It's really amazing. Luffy said again, Uncle Litsutu, I have another question. That is, how much do you know about Sky Island? Mont Blanc Kulik said before that he knew the way to go to Sky Island. But Luffy could somehow see that this chestnut-headed uncle had more information about Sky Island. Mont Blanc Kulik looked at Luffy. Then he got up from the sofa, walked to the bookcase in the office, and pulled out a book from it. He went back to the couch and started to read. No one has confirmed the existence of Sky Island, and no one can deny it. However, these texts left by the predecessors can explain some of it, Mont Blanc Kulik said while flipping through it. Nami stood up and walked in front of him. Nami looked at the books in the other's hand. Logbook. This is no Lando's logbook. Nami said with an incredulous look on her face. Mont Blanc Kulik continued to read, and said, well, this is his logbook. The Mont Blanc family has many of his relics. He finally browsed to the place he needed, and handed the logbook to Nami. You read those words. It's about Sky Island, Mont Blanc, Kulik said. Nami looked at the logbook in her hand and said in shock, "This is the logbook from 400 years ago. It was written by Nolando himself." You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 484. ID Con 1671526. Usopp, Chopper, and Luffy were very pleasantly surprised, and the three of them went around Nami to listen. Nami began to read the ancient logbook. The weather was fine on June 11, 26, and we headed towards the bustling town of Vera. According to the record pointer, after setting off from the port, the ship headed straight to the northeast. During the day, the merchant ships passing by were purchased. I bought a very strange thing. It's a single-person boat called Vaeba, which looks like a ski. It's incredible that you can ride it and ride the wind and waves even on a day without wind or waves. It's just that I haven't touched it yet. Without the know-how of control, it cannot be really used smoothly. Now it has become a means of transportation for the crew to relieve their boredom. However, its power source seems to be unique to Sky Island. I heard that there are many Sky Islands in the sky. Weird things like this. Now that we have mentioned Sky Island, we cannot fail to mention the lively skyfish that my explorer friends showed me. It was really a very clever fish, and I was extremely surprised. Although Sky Island, the sea is a distant existence for our ships. But as an explorer, I hope that my crew and I can get there to find out. Mont Blanc Nolan spend. Nami read all these texts about Sky Island. Usopp, Chopper and Luffy were also surprised that their mouths were open and unable to close. Nami said excitedly, "He mentioned Sky Island and Sky Sea." Usopp said loudly, "The tone of what he said is really the same. From this point of view, there is no doubt that Sky Island exists." In that era, it seemed that talking about Sky Island was very common. Luffy said excitedly, "We must go up." The little guy Chopper said excitedly, "It really exists." Everyone cheered together, "Great." Sanji also seemed to have some interest. He said, "There must be many strange ingredients in Kanjio Sky Island." Sanji, who is determined to find the blue sea where the legendary delicacies gather, is naturally interested in ingredients from some mysterious areas. Zoro said, "There really is an empty island. There must be swordsmen there too." Roger and Robin sat close together. Robin said, "There really are those legendary Sky Islands and Kyukai." Rog said, "Well, based on the logbook we salvaged from the wreckage of the San Bliss, we can confirm that there is indeed an empty island. It is impossible for people in the past to weave something that does not exist after 200 years. Nolando's logbook is from 400 years ago, and that of the St. Bliss from 200 years ago. No matter how many lies there are in the world, they cannot be repeated without reason. Judging from the current signs, Sky Island and Sky Sea do exist. Not only Usopp and the others, but even the apes and orangutans were overwhelmed. "Oh, I want to go to Sky Island too," said the orangutan. "Me too," said the ape. Both of them believed in things like the Golden Country, so naturally Sky Island also liked to go there. A dream is something that everyone can relate to. It doesn't matter whether the dreams that individuals have are good or bad. The ape and the orangutan looked at Mont Blanc Kulik together. "Boss, after defeating Grandet, let's go to Sky Island together," the orangutan said. Mont Blanc Kulik remained silent, and finally said, "As long as Grandet is defeated and the problem of the Golden Country is confirmed, let's continue chasing our next dream." The apes and orangutans were very happy. The implication is approval. Great. The apes and orangutans hugged each other happily. Everyone has chatted here for so long, and they have gained a lot. Suddenly a gillo sound sounded. Usopp, Nami, and Chopper all looked at Luffy's stomach. "Ah, I'm hungry again," Luffy said. Usopp, Chopper, and Nami all looked ashamed. "I really don't know if your belly is a bottomless pit," Nami said helplessly. Mont Blanc Kulik glanced at the clock on the wall. "It's now past 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, everyone. Let's prepare dinner later. There are so many friends here today, let's celebrate," Mont Blanc Kulik said. Sanji said, "Very good. I will continue to cook tonight's dinner." Apes and orangutans are also fanatical. "The food cooked by Sanji is so delicious," said the orangutan. "You must taste the boss," said the ape. Mont Blanc Kulik smiled and said, "Okay, I've been swimming for so long today, and I'm hungry. I can eat a cow now." The interior of the sea dock is full of surprises and enthusiasm. It was already stormy outside. Strong winds and torrential rains hit this offshore dock, but they still couldn't shake it. Meanwhile in Gaia Island, the island was also affected by a huge storm. In Magic Valley City, shops were closed one after another, and pedestrians hid in their homes. But in the most prosperous mansion in the central area of this port city, the people in this mansion were trembling, because at this moment the owner of the mansion was filled with unprecedented anger and hatred. In a large room in the mansion, a group of people lowered their heads straight, with gloomy faces facing forward. In front is an oak table. The desk is full of papers. Most of these documents are related to the operation of banks, shopping malls, factories, ports and other industries in Magic Valley City. And of course the tax paperwork. Sitting behind the oak table was a shrewd-looking old man with white hair. The old man has a pair of sharp exaggerated slender noses and eyes like eagles. The jaw is very narrow. The hair is pale but neat. His sharp face was very angry. He looked at a document in front of him. There were things written in black and white on it that made him angry, frustrated, and miserable. More than half of the Third Army was lost. The Gaia Knight and Patroness were finally confirmed to have sunk by patrol ships. It was just such information that made the old man feel like a knife was twisting his heart. This old man is the mayor of Grandet, who has power and wealth in Magic Valley City. Mayor Grandet was trembling all over. These people in front of him are his confidants. Among them were the chief of staff of the security forces, the head of the port guard force, Razel, and several senior officials from the security forces and management industries. However, Monclos, the head of the 3rd Legion of the security force, has disappeared. "Don't be like this, you should say something now," Mayor Grandet said, suppressing his anger and grief. The chief of staff of the security army spoke first and said, "Mayor Grandet, please calm down. Monclo, the commander of the 3rd Army Corps who failed to command well, has been held accountable and sentenced to hanging. The execution will be tomorrow morning." Mayor Grandet nodded and said, "That's it?" He lost more than half of the officers and soldiers of the 3rd Army through his own mistakes. This is what he deserved. In fact, the core factor of the 3rd Legion's defeat was that Rog and Sauron were too powerful. And even if it is not Monclos, it will fail. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Le'er a Dream. Chapter 485. ID Con 1672145. Although the Demon Valley City security forces are powerful, they face the Straw Hat Pirates who have been trained in the earth-shattering civil war. Grandet looked at the chief of staff of the security force and said, "However, we must catch those pirates now. We must deal with them whether they live or die." The chief of staff of the security force looked at Grandet again and said, "Mayor Grandet, since the other side is a pirate, can we ask the Navy to intervene?" Mayor Grandet frowned and thought for a moment, then said, "I'm afraid not. The Navy in this area has been transferred due to special reasons. They seem to have participated in the suppression of the Revolutionary Army. But this is fine, after all, we still have some things to do. We don't want to be exposed." Otherwise, if we cooperate too much with the Navy, they will discover some things about us that we don't want others to know. Grandet knew very well that he and his subordinate forces had done too many bad things in this Demon Valley city. If you are too close to the Navy, it will be easy to be exposed, and he will be miserable at that time. The Chief of Staff of the Public Security Army continued, then we need to annihilate them. We also have undercover agents at the Aruyama United Army. According to intelligence, the group of young pirates joined them at the Aruyama Allied Army. As for whether the two sides will cooperate, still a big problem. After thinking about it, Mayor Grandet said, this is the case. If this is the case, then let's find a way to wipe out the Saruyama United Army and the Straw Hat Pirates together. After listening to Grandet's words, the senior military and political officials in the room looked at each other. It is necessary to eliminate the Aruyama United Army and the Straw Hat Pirates at the same time. This is not an easy task. However, in the current situation, this is the only way to do so. Mayor Grandet continued, if there are enemies, they must be completely eradicated. Now that the enemies are gathered together, it is just the time to wipe them all out. After hearing this, the Chief of Staff of the Security Army said, then it is best for our army to take the initiative to attack. Mayor Grandet said, that's how it is. The main force of the warship force is dispatched, plus the land force of the security forces. Together attack the sea dock. The Chief of Staff of the Public Security Army thought about it and said, because of the loss of the Gaia Knight and the Patroness, we still have 8 heavy warships left. There are also 30 light warships. Plus 15 landing ships. All forces if we attack together, although our troops are strong, the opponent is a sea dock with strong defense and attack power after all. So we need to fight carefully. Mayor Grandet said, yes, so we must make full use of the undercover agents at the Ape Mountain United Army to cooperate with others. The Chief of Staff of the Security Forces said, yes. So I will discuss and coordinate the battle plan with the officers as soon as possible. And I will come to the scene to command the battle in person. Mayor Grandet said, okay, this decisive battle between our fleet and the enemy's main force is entrusted to you. The Chief of Staff of the Security Force said very seriously, I will fulfill my mission, please rest assured. Then the Chief of Staff of the Security Forces, the Chief of the Port Guard Rezel, and several officers withdrew one after another. There were still a few officials responsible for finance and civil affairs, and Grandet talked with them. How is the wealth stored in the bank now? Grandet asked a fat but well-dressed middle-aged man. This person is the president of Grandet Bank in Magic Valley City. Any other private banks in Magic Valley City, even large public banks under the world government, are prohibited from operating. The Grandet Bank, which Grandet himself absolutely controlled, monopolized the finance of this prosperous transit port city. The fat president of the Grandet Bank reported respectfully, Mayor Grandet, the Grandet Bank now reserves billion burials in cash and billion burials worth of gold, silver and other precious metals. These are strictly kept in the vaults belonging to the Grandet Bank. A total of billion baileys of funds are at your disposal at any time. After hearing the sum of these money figures, Grandet immediately looked better. The security forces he had previously regarded as his backbone suffered heavy losses, which made him deeply regretful. Grandet asked another cunning-looking man and said, Manager, how is the situation of the shopping mall in Magic Valley City? This cunning-looking person is in charge of the manager of the main shopping mall in Magic Valley City. The major shopping malls in Magic Valley City were all founded or acquired by Grandet, so they are all Grandet's wealth. The manager is responsible for running these malls. The manager said politely, Mayor Grandet, the 6 large shopping malls in Magic Valley City are able to maintain daily net profit growth. Moreover, other small and medium-sized stores in the city also purchase from large shopping malls. The big malls I run have a firm grip on commerce in the city. After hearing this, Grandet said, very good. His expression also became more relaxed. Grandet glanced at a burly bald man again, and said to him, "Director, how are the chain factories going?" In addition to banks and shopping malls, Grandet also controlled the industries of Magic Valley City. Although Magic Valley City is a prosperous transit port city, it can obtain goods from various countries and regions. However, in order to increase profits, Grandet still worked hard to build a chain of factories in the industrial zone. These chain factories have two parts. One part is light industrial products such as furniture, textiles, toys, printing, and dyeing, etc. Once these are produced, they can be used by the hundreds of thousands of people in Demon Valley City. Because these civilian products are manufactured directly here without the huge transportation costs of embarking on a long voyage, they can bring considerable profits and markets. The other part is military industry. Although many advanced weapons can be obtained through public purchases or from weapon smuggling merchants. However, some consumable bullets, shells, and bombs, as well as some small military machinery and supplies, can be produced by military factories. The burly factory director said, "Mayor Grandet, the output of civilian light industry is still huge. It can now meet the needs of more than % of the residents of Magic Valley City. However, there is no need to further expand production. Otherwise, the market it will be saturated, resulting in reduced profits or even losses." After hearing this, Grandet nodded and said, "Very well, what about the military factories?" The factory director continued, "Now the military factories can produce centimeter and centimeter conventional caliber artillery shells hours a day, as well as general purpose bullets with a diameter of centimeter. This is enough to meet the consumption of non-stop operations." And it continues produces portable bombs and mines used by the military as well as supporting supplies. Mayor Grandet said, "Very good. But the military factories can expand their production scale in the near future. Double as much as possible." After hearing this, the factory director said, "Yes, Mayor Grandet." Grandet knew very well that he was going to fight in the future. So the military factory needs to expand its scale. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 486. ID Con 1672202. Grandet's eyes turned to a man in a blue suit. This man had some authority between his eyebrows. "President, what is the situation of the shipping company?" Grandet asked. Magic Valley City is a bustling transit port city. The natural shipping industry is very developed. Whether it is transporting people or transporting goods, ships are needed. Grandet also purchased and annexed some merchant ships, forming a shipping company with dozens of large merchant ships. This imposing man in a blue suit is the chairman of the shipping company. The president said very solemnly, "Now the Magic Valley Shipping Company has a total of 75 large merchant ships. Now it can carry out long-distance transportation to the Great Route and even the Four Seas. However, there has been a new business recently. That is Alaba after the war. Stan. Now Alabasta is in dire need and needs to import some production and daily necessities. So I am preparing to ship a large amount of machinery, steel, alloys, chemicals, and other production materials, as well as textiles, furs, food, and other daily necessities to Alabasta. You can definitely make a lot of money this way." Hearing this, Grandet applauded. "Okay, Alabasta has suffered huge civil war damage. It will be peacefully reconstructed for a long time afterwards. So reselling these goods quickly will definitely make us a lot of money. And we have a large fleet, and the cluster transportation cost is lower. You will definitely be able to get more customers when you go to Alabasta. At that time, the profits will continue to come. So you have done a good job, President. But it is best to reduce the business going to other areas. Because Alabasta can be quite good for a while now. Time provides huge profits," Grandet said with eyes shining. As he talked, he stood up from his chair. For Grandet, who was born as a businessman, money is everything. Business opportunities mean happiness. But at this time, the fat bank president asked, but, Mayor Grandet. According to various sources, Alabasta is now extremely short of cash. How can the other party pay us money? Mayor Grandet looked at him with a look of complacency on his face. Don't worry about this. Alabasta is an ancient civilization with thousands of years of history. There are many priceless antiques there. Even if the other party doesn't have enough cash, there are antiques to offset it. Alabasta is the largest exporter of antiques in the world. Now that the Civil War has caused great damage, more funds are needed, so they will sell more high-value antiques. So after we bought antiques of amazing value, we resold them on the market. There are countless Bailey, Mayor Grandet said excitedly. So that's the case, Mayor Grandet is really smart, the fat president said. Grandet said to the president again, by the way, the bank you control has antique appraisal experts. Allocate them to the shipping company for use. Yes, I'm going to do it quickly, said the obese governor. Mayor Grandet's face changed from pale and annoyed to now rosy and full of energy. This is the power of money. Just as Grandet's face was glowing red, a female voice suddenly sounded. Father. Grandet was stunned for a moment. The faces of these four confidants also changed slightly. Then the door to the room was pushed open. A beautiful brown-haired beauty in a light blue neat dress walked in. The four dignitaries present looked at her and couldn't help but want to swallow their saliva, but they themselves were not short of beautiful women on weekdays. And more importantly, this girl is the daughter of Mayor Grandet. Grandet's face immediately became a little ugly, and he looked at the lively daughter. Father, why are you so worried? She said in front of Grandet. Grandet said helplessly, Eugenie, you won't cause me some trouble again, will you? Eugenie's eyes were full of wonder and she said, Father, how can I cause trouble to you? Today I just sold your private collection of famous paintings to a traveling businessman, and then received 500,000 Baileys. Grandet was so angry that his whole body trembled and said, which famous painting you are selling can't be the omnipotent holy tree. Eugenie said naturally, it's that famous painting. Grandet was so angry that he fell down, then stood up again. He said painfully, I collected it with great difficulty. It would be worth at least 3 million belly if sold. Eugenie pursed her lips, as if she had made a mistake, and said, I can't help it, I lost money on the sale. But, I used the 500,000 belly I got to do good things. By the way, I gave it to me to live in the old world among the 40 households in the city, no one gave belly to help them. Can the remaining be regarded as pocket money to reward me? After all, I will help you do good deeds and win the hearts of the people. Grandet trembled with anger. You, money, 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 my life. Eugenie hastily picked up the water glass from Grandet's table and stuffed it into her father's mouth. Father, you need to drink plenty of water to avoid poor health, Eugenie said with concern. Grandet was given a few sips of water, and then gasped. He looked at Eugenie and said with an ugly face, I told you. Those who failed by themselves deserve what they deserve. I have no obligation to save them. Eugenie was also slightly unhappy and said, but father, you are not only a businessman now, but also the mayor of the city. Isn't it what you should do to do something for those who are suffering? Grandet said, no, those guys can't do it themselves. To deal with that kind of people and the people in the city, you only need to firmly grasp the armed forces and the lifeline of the economy here. Otherwise, everything about me will be taken by them. It was taken under various names. Eugenie looked very disappointed and said, Father, people's hearts are the most important thing. And you have done so many things that are strictly speaking bad things for a long time. Can't I do something good for you? Grandet said sternly, no, I will never allow you to continue doing this. Eugenie also waved her hand, and said, anyway, I'm your daughter. My father has done something wrong, and I have the right to correct it. After all, Eugenie still walked out from here very generously. Granddad was so angry that he slapped the table straight, and he finally sat down on the chair helplessly. The four people, including the fat bank president, looked at Granddad in embarrassment. Although Granddad has the money and power of Magic Valley City, and has armed forces. But he has such a kind and lively daughter Eugenie in his family. Eugenie's personality is completely different from that of Granddad, who is stingy and speculative. Eugenie has a forthright and kind personality and likes to help others. For a long time, Eugenie often tried to use the money from Granddad to help those in difficulty in the city of Magic Valley. This made Granddad annoyed and stared blankly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee A Dream. Chapter 487. ID Con 1673180. Granddad lay on the chair annoyed, and it took a while to cheer up. Humph, I made you laugh, Granddad said, very dissatisfied. The four of them, including the fat bank president, all had helpless faces. Granddad waved his hand and said, Okay, now that the matter has been settled. Go down. Goodbye. The four of them bid farewell and left here one after another. Granddad took out another document about the wealth of Magic Valley City, looking at it with pleasure. For Granddad, what he has today is all about his control of money, power, and force. If we talk about other human hearts, it seems that they are all nothing and have no value at all. The storm outside the window also started to get bigger. The sky over Magic Valley City, Gaia Island, and the nearby waters were all affected by the storm. Strong winds were raging over Gaia Island and heavy rains continued. The sea is also rough. In the sea some distance from Gaia Island, huge offshore docks float here. This huge offshore dock is very stable despite the storm. The bigger the boat, the stronger the wind and waves. Inside the sea dock, Rog, Saran, Mont Blanc, Kulik, the apes and orangutans all had a cheerful dinner. At this dinner, even Mont Blanc Kulik personally tasted the delicacies cooked by Sanji. Even he raised his thumb and praised again and again. The crew members in the dock were even more happy. This was the second time they enjoyed the food that Sanji took the lead in cooking. Everyone is very happy. The Saruyama United Army and the Straw Hat Pirates are considered partnerships. After a dinner party, everyone left here one after another. There are still many rooms in the sea dock. Please come with me, said the orangutan. The orangutan took everyone to the crew living area, where there were still many empty rooms. After arriving at the crew quarters, Usopp suddenly asked the orangutan, Orangutan, I find it a bit strange. There are many people in the sea dock. And the people on your warship with the apes added, there are not so many. How could there be more of these people? The orangutan said, You ask this. It's like this. Ever since the Saurus Mountain United Army changed its goal to overthrow the rule of Granddad, it has recruited some people who were persecuted in Demon Valley City. Originally, I brought the great people from Bahia. There are people on the route. There are people brought here by the orangutans from the North Sea. Later, we recruited people who left the Demon Valley City after persecution and were willing to join us. Now Ape Mountain there are 1,300 men in the Union Army. Usopp said, it turned out to be like this. The orangutan then got a room for each of them. Everyone have a good rest. Tomorrow, let's prepare to unite against Granddad's forces. The orangutan left after speaking. Okay, you also have a good rest, Usopp said. Rogue and Usopp went to their respective rooms to rest. Roger went to his room and began to rest. I also need to organize and transform the plant weapons. After Usopp arrived in his room, he began to check various props. After Zoro arrived in his room, he began to wipe the knives. The 3 katana swords were stained with dried blood from the previous battle. After Sanji arrived in the room, he gracefully unbuttoned his suit jacket and lay down on the bed. "It's so cool to be praised like that by the ladies," Sanji said happily. Sanji was praised by the young female crew of the Sea Dock for his good cooking skills. This really made this playboy-like man happy. Chopper went to his room and put his backpack away first. It is filled with all kinds of medicines and medical equipment that you carry with you. Chopper sat on the chair in the room and said relaxedly, "I'm really tired. But now I can finally take a rest." Chopper took out another lollipop, put it in his mouth and licked it. As soon as Luffy arrived in his room, he lay down on the bed happily, snoring. Luffy quickly fell asleep after lying down. After the Ninja King entered his room, the man in black took off his ninja clothes and sorted out his various ninja weapons. Kunao, shuriken, ninja sword, water spider, gauntlet hook, bow and arrow, blow arrow, and so on. The weapons and props used by these ninjas are very important, and the king of ninjas often needs to check and save them. After the spring goddess arrived in her room, she began to arrange the 3 ancient magic weapons, the golden axe, the silver axe, and the iron axe. Then he began to chant the spell lightly to realize the connection between himself and these magic weapons. After Nami got to her room, she first took clean clothes and then left the room to go to the bathroom. Nami is a clean girl, and she needs to take a good bath after a battle. When Robin arrived in her room, she began to look through a book about the legends of various ancient civilizations on the Great Line. Most of the crew members in this offshore dock are resting one after another. However, there are also some people who are on duty in different shifts. At the front of the sea dock, there is a command room responsible for operating the entire sea fortress. The crew here is responsible for steering the helm and issuing orders to various areas of the dock. In the command room, more than 10 crew members are working here. They are always aware of the drastic changes in the environment around the offshore dock. Now outside the huge glass window ahead, there is a violent storm. "Dreadful weather," said one of the crew. "But don't worry, this offshore dock is very strong, such a huge hull can't be overturned no matter how strong the storm is," another crew member said. "What do you think of the new pirates who came today to fight against the security forces?" another crew member said. "They are a group of young people. According to the people on the Yutan probe, their combat effectiveness is astonishing," a crew member said. "With these friends here, Grandet and his men will hate us even more. Ha ha ha," another crew member said. While the crew members were talking and laughing, the door behind the command room opened. The man who came in was the orangutan. The ape looked at the crew here and said, "Is everything okay?" "Everything is fine. Don't worry." The ape deputy commander said, a crew member. The commander-in-chief of the Ape Mountain Combined Army is Mont Blanc Kulik. Apes and orangutans are the 2 deputy commanders. The orangutan said, "Ah, that's good." He looked out the window where the storm was raging ahead. Looking out from the huge glass window in the command room, you can see the dark clouds in the sky covering the sky, and the storm mixed with rain flying across the sea and falling to the sea. The waves on the sea were rough and undulating. This kind of weather is not common these days. "But I'm afraid there will be a real storm." The orangutan looked at the scenery outside the window and said. Pirate Plant Fruit. Author, Lee Er A Dream. Chapter 488. ID Con 1673182. Although the ape has a very heroic character, he can also think about some things calmly. This time, 2 heavy warships of the security forces were sunk. It is certain that things will not end so easily. Moreover, after the Saruyama United Army and the Straw Hat Pirates become partners, they will inevitably have a fierce battle with the Grandet forces. "Deputy Commander Orangutan, I want to ask a question," a crew member said. The ape looked at him and said, "What do you want to ask?" The crew member said, "Are those young pirates really reliable?" The orangutan looked at him and thought for a while, then said, "You don't want to ask whether their purpose of staying with us is true and their intention of coming to the Ape Mountain Joint Army Base. Don't worry about this, I have had a serious conversation with the orangutan. In fact, he was the one who brought these young people here. And our people lurking in Magic Valley City also provided intelligence. This group of young pirates once had a battle with the security forces near the port. The land forces of the security forces were most of one legion was wiped out. There are these things. Then they must be reliable," said the crew member. The orangutan said again, "You don't doubt that they are undercover, do you?" The crew member quickly said, "How is it possible that even if the security army wants to send undercover agents, it is impossible to deliberately lose 2 heavy warships? It also loses most of the army. And these young people are so eye-catching. Judging from their appearance, they are obviously just people who come near Gaia Island." After dispelling his worries, the orangutan said, "Okay, thank you for your hard work. Always pay attention to the movements around the offshore dock." "No problem, don't worry," said a crew member. Then the personnel walked out of the command room. After the orangutan moved away from the corridor, the figure also disappeared. At this time, 4 figures came out again. These 4 figures all looked towards the door of the command room. But even in the dark, these 4 people are still very cautious. The leader said in a low voice, "Information has come from Magic Valley City. They want to concentrate all the main force of the fleet to attack. So we need to try to control this command room. In this way, the position of the offshore dock will be fixed directly, and the fleet will just attack." Another person asked in a low voice, "When will we start taking action?" The leader whispered, "Tomorrow morning, around 9 o'clock according to the plan." Another person asked in a low voice, "Then how do we leave?" The leader said, "Let's take advantage of the chaos and leave in a small boat." Another person asked in a low voice, "Then when will we act?" The leader glanced at the door of the command room and said, "Tomorrow morning. Now let's get familiar with the environment here." After the 4 people discussed, they continued to stay for a while and then left. The people in this offshore dock still don't know that an astonishing storm will be set off by the cooperation of undercover agents and the enemy fleet. It was already night, but the storm outside the sea dock was still fierce. But no matter how powerful the storm is, it will pass. It's time for the second day. In the Magic Valley City on Gaia Island, the sky is still hazy and dark. But a huge and incomparable fleet began to march. At the forefront of the fleet are 10 50-meter-long light warships. These light warships raised their sails, and the artillery on the warships was also loaded with shells. Whether it is a flat-fire gun or a mortar, it is always ready for battle. This is the vanguard of the entire fleet. In the back are 8 tall and heavy warships with a length of meters. Each one has a huge mast and a strong hull. Its strong hull made of steel and high-quality wood is enough to allow it to carry countless shells. The bows of heavy warships are all heavy turrets with 2 heavy guns. The powerful muzzle rushed forward. Once fired, it is enough to destroy the enemy ships blocking the way. The side of the heavy warship's hull is also equipped with powerful quadruple anti-ship torpedo tubes. These deadly anti-ship torpedoes are powerful enough to destroy heavy warships of their size. There are 10 light warships on the left and right sides of the 8 heavy warships. These light warships have the same shape and size and weapon configuration as the light warships that led the way. These 20 light warships escort 8 heavy warships on the left and right sides. Behind this fleet were 15 warships that were 50 meters long like light warships, but had fatter and bloated hulls. They were landing ships loaded with marine troops. Each of the 15 landing ships carries more than 100 marine officers and soldiers. There are a total of 2,000 officers and soldiers of these marine troops. They are the 2nd Legion of the Demon Valley City Security Army that is best at amphibious operations. The 2nd Corps also took part in the battle. A total of 53 large warships participated in the battle. It can be said that all the main forces of the security army fleet will be dispatched on the deck of one of the 8 heavy warships named Emperor. The Chief of Staff of the security forces personally directs the battle here. All warships advance at full speed, and the formation must not be disrupted. The Chief of Staff of the security force used a phone bug to issue orders to the entire fleet. The huge fleet moved on. The Chief of Staff of the security force looked at the vast sea and said, "Okay, whether it is the Saruyama United Army or the Straw Hat Pirates, we will kill you all." This powerful fleet rushed towards the designated sea area aggressively. A floating dock floating on the distant sea. The sky is still dark, but it has gradually become brighter. In the command room of the offshore dock, a group of crew members on night shift are still paying close attention to their surroundings. "It's all right. It's always safe here," said a crew member. "Of course, although the fleet of the security army is powerful, how dare they attack this offshore dock that is comparable to a mobile fortress? Even heavy warships are no match for this offshore dock," another crew member said. "Yes, looking at the super turret with triple super heavy artillery on the deck from a distance, any enemy will be discouraged," another crew member said. The sky outside the huge glass window in front of the command room has gradually brightened. The sun rose slowly from the sea. At this moment, a sound came from the door behind the command room. "We're doing a shift change. Please let us in," said a voice. Some people in the command room felt a little surprised, because this voice is a little strange. But someone still went to open the door. "Come in." He opened them, but there were only 4 crew members. He had also seen these 4 people, and they were indeed people who had been oppressed by the Magic Valley City, recruited by the Sea Dock and fled here, and they volunteered to join the Ape Mountain United Army. The crew member who opened the door looked at the 4 people and said strangely, "You guys. But I haven't heard that the shift crew has changed. And there are only 4 of you." Suddenly a sharp dagger pierced his throat.